Interesting. Yes. Of course, it's all going according to plan. Finally, the madness can begin and chaos shall be brought upon this world, for I am the great Kyoden Kyoma! Mwahahaha! Yes. Excellent. Plan. Jormungandr is a go. Yes, it is me. It's finally happened. They're here. We've talked about everything that could be evolved about time travel, the necessity and the craziness about romantic relationships, and most importantly, I have them. They are now my followers, my lab mems, my devoted devotees, and together we shall rain chaos upon all that is there. It is time. Move forth the agents. It is time to engage against the organization Psy Kongroo. Oh, I hope that was worth it. Oh no, the cringe. Hello, anyone who is here and anyone who is in the future who's watching this. Yes, I did just buy a lab coat for a bit. Yes, that was totally me. My gosh. I hope the volume wasn't too loud. Oh, I literally came up with all of that 3 days ago. I hope I didn't just wake up the whole house, but the loud stuff is done. Hello, how's it going? Welcome to TheBlueShifting, and welcome to our rap party. Now, this is, of course, the rap party for Steins Linear Bounded Phenogram and Steins My Darling's Embrace. However, I'm going to be talking about all things Steins Gate. There are no spoilers. Well, there's no safety spoilers here. Everything's on the table. We'll be talking about everyone and everything you could possibly imagine. It is time for us to put this fantastic series to bed. It's sad to see it go. It's probably one of the most powerfully, motivating stories for me, but push comes to shove. It is time to say goodnight, my dear sweet prince, to this series. Not that it's the end of all things from these creators and writers, of course, but for now, we will be stepping back. I'll be talking a little bit about that, and unfortunately, I was hoping to have a bit of an idea of exactly what we're going to be going into in the future, but I'll get to that later. But for now, let's just talk about some of the delicious things we're going to be doing. But absolutely, yes, this is actually a lab coat. Let's see if I can stand up. See, it is, fully functioning. It was actually not that expensive, and I do say rather dashing, but that's probably me being biased. Oh, what nonsense this is. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to be talking about everything, diving into every aspect of the story, stuff that I really loved, stuff that I didn't love. I keep hearing noises. I really think I'm too loud there, but hey, It was for a short time, and it is done. But I got some props, and unfortunately, they really are props. But I'm going to involve them. But you see, I can't talk about Steins Gate with having Trusty Banana and not sponsored Dr. P. I wish it were sponsored. Wouldn't that be cool if I got sponsored by Dr. Pepper? But thing is, it's never gonna happen because I don't drink soda. So yeah, I'm probably going to indulge just a tad, but for both medical and personal reasons, I won't actually be drinking any Dr. P besides like a little sip. But I gave up drinking soda probably over a year ago now, and it's just not going to be. But if you want to participate in the conversation, if you want to bring up points, or if you want me to discuss certain things, please leave it in the chat. I'll be paying attention as best I can. If I'm glancing over like this, that's because I got the chat over here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I also, though, want to have like the nice background, you know, of the slideshows of everything I've used in the past to be a thumbnail, or just moments I captured on my own that I thought were really interesting. But yeah, like they're going to be peripheral. This is going to be the first rap party I've done with the full webcam, but because I've been working so hard on live streams recently, I'm a lot better at this kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to be able to do this. Also, if for some reason you're here and you're really confused as to why I'm not playing Persona 5, these are rap parties. Whenever I finish one of my series, there's often I don't get a chance to really do a full in-depth wrap up or like kind of compiling of my thoughts about the series. I do a little bit of it at the end of the last episode, but I like to really get into the nuts and bolts and really talk about it. So it's been a tradition for a while now that I do a live stream where I hopefully can interact with as many members of the community as possible, talking about what I've just finished and read and what it means to me, because it's just something I can't summarize in a short period of time, but I can't also staple an hour-long discussion at the end of a video. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Purple Gamer, close to you. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. If you haven't read Steins Gate, though, like, I hate to, it's weird telling people to leave, but absolutely don't spoil yourself with all of this. These games are fantastic. They're worth spending your time on. They're worth spending your money on, frankly. Like, it's really something that's worthwhile to make a part of your life, and to, even if you've watched the anime, like, there's a lot more content we're going to be talking about here that the anime can cover. So it's going to be a lot of fun to do that. So hopefully you sit back, you relax, you got some snacks, you got something fun to think about, and you've got some great music, hopefully. And by the way, if the music's too loud, let me know. But my statistics, oh, I guess it's actually probably too quiet. Yeah, let's crank that up just a touch. Yeah, that should be a bit better. Unfortunately, I can't listen. I could put my headphones on and try and hear what you guys hear, but it'll be a little different because of the way this stuff plays for my computer versus how it streams and how I've set up the stream. So if there's some audio problems, let me know, but we are going to jump into it. So where do we even begin? I mean, I picked up Steins Gate. It was probably the most informed visual novel I've ever come into. It wasn't long before I started talking about visual novels and like how much I was enjoying the ones I was talking about and like experiencing, before people were clamoring that I needed to play Steins Gate. And these weren't just like people who viewed like the show on viewed the channel. These were personal friends, people who understood what I like, specifically my love of science, physics, and pretty much science fiction too, like just as a genre. They all told me like, you gotta look at Steins Gate, you gotta look at Steins Gate. And you know, I looked into it a little bit, and of course I had raving reviews. One of the top visual novels of all time, both in Japan and outside Japan. And so naturally I needed to, I knew I was going to touch into it sometime, and I decided to wait to jump into it until I was comfortable, because I wanted to do the series justice. And even then, like, I can look back at my early Steins Gate videos now, and I've come a long way as a video creator, and also you can see like I've changed physically a lot in that time. But I'm really glad that I was so consistent with like my love and analysis for the series and in general. It probably is one of the best depictions of time travel that we've seen. The only thing I think competes with it as far as like really extrapolating like what we like a theory of time travel and following it fairly like consistently is Interstellar. But Interstellar doesn't even deal with time travel that much. That deals with time dilation. And then whilst that one is very accurate to the models, and it plays with that concept really, really well, there's something really fascinating about the idea of making time travel believable. The whole concept of the D-mails, the other ridiculousness of like discovering it randomly, but then the beautiful follow through of like what it would be like to actually like manipulate the universe, how the universe would respond to such things, and how like the only way to really tell a good story with a D-Mill and time leap machine is to have somebody who has the inexplicable ability to retain their core memories through jumps, which is, it's fascinating, but really, really cool to see. Be able to maintain a cohesive memory of the distinct differences in the timeline. I also really liked how they fleshed out in Zero how Okabe isn't the only person with this ability, but for some reason he just happened to be one of the most advanced with this ability. Likely because like the fever that kind of inducted this whole process struck him when he was a lot younger. I even wonder that there might be, because we know there's satellite stories, Chaos Head, Chaos Child, robotics, and in the new game that's coming out, like there's other things that take place in this or similar universes. So I wonder if they'll ever cover, as a side note, like how or why Okabe was so indicted earlier in his life, because we see other characters, Fubuki specifically, who also have this ability to kind of hold on to memories from different time leaps and different timelines. But yeah, so whilst I could talk all day about like the fun science and everything about the story, what we came here for, what we are drawn to the story ultimately by, is the characters. So I really want to do a deep dive into a lot of that, because that's really what Linear Bounded Phenogram and My Darling's Embrace were all about. They were about exploring character. They were about like, all right, we got this universe, we got this world, we have this interaction with these like fancy like devices and time manipulation and all this stuff, but then you strip away the core like dilemma about like effectively World War being fought over time travel and time machines. You strip that away and you're left with just the characters that we fell in love with, and what are some of the things we could explore with them. So I'm going to kind of go about this by a character, but and again, I'm going to talk about everything, but I really think I'm going to focus on the satellite type of content, because I think that's obviously at the forefront here, and it also might be the parts that I think I have the most to say. So I'm not really sure how to go through this in any particularly logical way. I'm just kind of going to go with the flow and kind of feel things out as I go. We might be here a while, so buckle up. And always, if you can't stick around, or if you just don't feel like it, obviously come back. I've archived them. I think I've already flagged them to be archived in all three playlists: the Linear Bounded Phenogram, the My Darling's Embrace, and the general like the super playlist with all the Steins content in it. So this will not be hard to find if you want to watch this in the future. And if you are in the future watching this and you didn't watch this live, I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you enjoy spending your time with me. I hope I don't look too washed out. I think my webcam is not great, and with it being bigger than normal, I think its flaws are much, much more highlighted than usual. But we will just jump right in. Oh, and that music is a little louder. Like, see, it's hard to judge because it's live. But, so I think first thing we need to talk about is Okabe. Okabe, being our main character and seeing things through his eyes almost exclusively, is really interesting. He's kind of crazy, but it's a self-imposed crazy, and it's so funny how relatable it becomes. Because at first, I remember, if you watch my first playthrough of the first game, oh man, it's like, I was cringing so hard whenever he, like, enacted his chuny, like, type of attitude. His like, inner, like, middle schooler with all his like rants and raves, and just like it was so hard and painful to go through. And then by the time you get to especially Zero, but even in Linear Bounded Phenogram and My Darling's Embrace, it's such an endearing quality, and you love it so much because of what it is, what it represents, where it came from, and what it does, and how it helps him, and how his friends even are supported by him. That's really what Okabe's true gift is. He's determined, he is driven to take on what would be seemingly impossible tasks. And it's funny because we get to see two sides of the same coin. During the Mayuri story, specifically in My Darling's Embrace, we really get to see this aspect of Okabe outside and isolated from the crisis that we constantly see him in, like the constant like panic state and situation where he's always just on the run, and he's fighting for his friends and their lives and their livelihoods. He's constantly kind of pushing himself. And we understand why he does that, because it's like literally a crisis situation. But we also get to see in the Mayuri, My Darling's Embrace series how the feuds with Kurisu kind of play out. with the swimming lesson and the fire in the firing game at the festival. We see this attitude of like, even when he has no right to feel confident, even when he has no right to feel like he can brag and like takes on these challenges that like even he admits to himself in his mind he has no chance at, it doesn't mean he backs down. It doesn't mean he's going to just kind of lay down and take it. In fact, he pushes on like stupidly, idiotically. And yet that's something that it's a character trait that's so imperative to the character Okabe. And that's the thing I think the story does a good job of doing. Maybe not so much in the first game, but it has this kind of repeating history that we do see there of this attitude where he's so bullheaded that he just refuses to take no for an answer if he's passionate enough and if he cares enough. And so like to know that that's such an intrinsic part of his character, and it's so universal throughout all the plots and lines of the story until Zero when he's a broken man, like it makes so much sense that that's part of what made him broken. And it's also what makes him so attractive, not just like in a romantic way. I'm talking like as a character, as a friend, something that really pulls his friends together, and something they're so happy to see comes reborn at the end of Zero is this got to do what's right regardless of consequences, regardless if it's impossible attitude. It's a wonderful thing to see, and it's such it's a character development that's so endearing because he's also human. I'm actually reading some books, Name of the Wind and A Wise Man's Fear by dude, I can't think of the name. They're pretty good. I don't want to now that I'm saying it, I want to make sure I give a shout out. Patrick Rothfuss. I'm a big reader, and I've been reading those recently. And in those stories, while it's engaging and amazing and really fun and captivating, the writing's really solid and the world building's fantastic. I do find that the character is a little too unapproachable because he's too good at too many things. He's brilliant. He's clever. He has all this great knowledge. He always seems to have a good idea, and when he has crazy ideas, he ends up pulling them off. It's kind of a similar idea of Okabe in the sense that like he kind of takes on impossible tasks and makes them happen anyway. But Okabe is so much better because he goes into it knowing that he's flawed. We see him fail time and time again. We see him fall short. And yet he still manages to make it work. A lot of times because he understands and can trust in his friends. Being able to recognize their talents and being able to understand like what's really going on. He reads people's hearts, and he really kind of sees to the heart of matters, except when it involves him. But it's a really powerful character development because it makes him so relatable, and yet so like you want to cheer him on. He has kind of like perpetual underdog status, which is really fascinating to see. And so Okabe, he's my boy, he's my main man, and he's gonna be my first cosplay. This is actually the beginning of that. I went out and bought this. I've been thinking about getting a lab coat for a while now for the Okabe costume, but with this stream coming up, it kind of hit me like a lightning bolt yesterday, and so I scrounged and I was able to find a place where you could buy lab coats, and I literally bought this. This is like, it's like a real professional lab coat. Like, it's not like a high-end lab coat you would have in an actual like chemical laboratory, but it is. I got it from the place that you like outfit yourself as nurses and doctors. Surprisingly cheap too. So like it was fun to be able to go and get this. And it's like for such a stupid cheesy opening that I'm gonna probably regret, and it's gonna be one of the many things that'll make it so I can never actually become a politician someday. Not that I want to, but you know, you gotta know at one point when you have no hope. So no hope of that ever being a thing. That's fine. So I got this. It was really fun to do, and like I literally got it for just these little bits. But in reality, like I do cherish Okabe as a character. He might be one of my favorite point of view main character MC characters of any visual novel, especially because he is kind of in the harem setting, though not quite, because like it's just so different. I don't know if I really want to classify this as a harem series, even though you can technically end up with like all the characters, like they're all technically dateable. But beyond My Darling's Embrace, do you really consider that dating? I don't think it's dating. It's more of like you can't help but love these characters just because of who they are, what they represent, and the pain they feel. And like the willingness they have to give up what they love, and like even when it comes to their happiness and their memories of who they are and what they desire, they're willing to give that up for the sake of their friend. And it's like hard to just kind of overcome that. So like I find Okabe to be super relatable, and I feel like that like for a first serious attempt at a cosplay, like an attempt to actually do a good job, even though I'm sure it'll be garbage. For my first attempt, I want to make it an Okabe. Like I think if there's going to be an opening to this branch of the hobby that I want to kind of indulge in, I think he's a good place to start, especially because it's not that complicated. But yeah, so that was me trying to channel my inner Okabe at the beginning of this video, and that was really fun. So there's really not much else I'd want to say about Okabe particularly. I've said a lot, and like you're gonna be getting a ton. Like I'm already going way long, and like it's gonna be a nightmare to try and keep reasonable. But just wanted to say, when push comes to shove, Okabe's my man. He's my bro, and so I'm gonna pour one out for him. So we got his favorite Dr. P. Someone said in a comment recently that like someone was going through my older videos, and they said that in the original apparently it was Dr. Pepper, but when they translated it they shortened it to Dr. P for trademark reasons, which I totally get. But yeah, so we're gonna try and do this. I'm gonna see get a little bit of an ASMR thing here, and hopefully it won't explode. Okay, we're gonna listen. Here, actually, I'm gonna turn down the music. Okay, ready? Ah, lovely. Lovely bubbly. Literally lovely bubbly. Now it's really funny because like I said, this is a prop. I'm totally not going to actually drink much of this. Like I'm going to pour one out for my boy, and that's pretty much it. I'm just going to have a swig. Like I could talk about like the details, maybe a little bit. Okay, here we go. Bottoms up. Like all like not sponsored. I really do love Dr. Pepper. It was my favorite soda. Oh my gosh, oh, that's cloying. Oh. Okay. So because of medical stuff I've had happen, I can't handle carbonation very well. So we might be seeing some weird side effects, primarily be a lot of burping. But I just took a sip, as you saw, but that'll probably be enough for my stomach to just not be happy for a while. I can never drink a whole lot of soda. Oh yeah, I can already feel it. It's like, oof. That's a bad idea. I should have done that, but I gotta pour one out for my man. But yeah, so for the rest of this, and as you saw before, I'll be drinking my normal vitamin water, which is my drink of choice for this. If I want to like deal stuff, there's like that and other things that are less like more reasonable and lighter on my stomach. So now I want to talk about. Gotta talk about Daru for just a second, okay? He was not helped by Linear Bounded Phenogram or My Darling's Embrace very much at all. Daru, I think Linear Bound he did okay because we got to kind of see. It was cool to see a story that was not from Okabe's perspective. That was really cool to really be a part of. And we got to see, of course, that like deep down he is a good guy. We always see that time and time again. But like even when he's being his perverted self, there's a core of him that's still really, really good. He kind of is perverted for fun, not because he's really being serious, which is I think what he means by being a gentleman perv. Like he's doing it. It's almost like it's like a hobby. It's not actually his personality, even though he really makes it look like it is. So that was really cool to see. I think his and like how he meets Yuki, and like their relationship is really cute and powerful, and it's really fun to see that from like his perspective. I do think the My Darling's Embrace Suzuha route is kind of weird. Like, I understand, and it's kind of an idea that I always, like, wondered about, but to see it play out, it's just like, ugh. Like, oh, man, him falling for Suzuha, it's just, it's like, it kind of hurts my soul. It hurts her soul. It hurts everyone's soul, except for Daru. He seems to enjoy himself. But, you know, it all works itself out in the end. I love that CG, but that picture, Kurisu. Although, to be fair, the one thing about that picture that I don't like is, like, Kurisu's a very skinny individual. She's a very skinny character, but that makes her look, like, horrifically skinny. Like, girl, you need to, like worry about that. Go see a doctor. Like, too thin. But, like, it's fine. She's great. And it's one of those, I don't know if it's a different artist, because the style is different from, like, most of the stills, but it's still really cute. Oh, and then there's Kurisu with the black dress. Oh man, that was a super heart-wrenching scene. It's like, I'm gonna get distracted by the clips, by the way, because you see me in front of them, but for me, it's just a big screen I'm looking at right now. So, Daru, Gentleman Perv, cool, whatever, dude. But moving on from that. All right, let's talk about some of our main cast. We're gonna probably save the big ones for last because I want to go through some of the side characters a bit. So I want to talk about Moeka right now because Moeka is the storyline, the plot line I finished most recently. Because I kind of desperately finished the My Darling's Embrace plot lines before I started this episode because I wanted to make sure I'd played everything. And I think Moeka deserved better. That was what I was like yelling at myself. Because, you know, when I don't record, I still talk to the computer a little bit. I've always done that, which is why I always thought that YouTube would be a good space for me. But for Moeka, I'm gonna have my banana, my Mayuri banana real quick. I'm gonna have a bite. I'll have to save more for when I talk about Mayuri, I suppose. But Moeka deserved better. We always knew that. My Darling's Embrace was so fun though, because it really ran with that storyline. In Linear Bounded Phenogram, we get to see Moeka's backstory, and we get to see more about like why she did what she did and how she perceives herself. But it didn't end happy. Like all Moeka's plotlines, all of her like routes, and pretty much every story except for My Darling's Embrace ends in tragedy. Like every single time. Like I think there's a few exceptions. I think one of the routes in Zero, she ended up being a lab mem like all the way to the end. But like push comes to shove, Moeka really does not get what she deserves in any way, and it's really heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to see. And I think of My Darling's Embrace, she was the only one that made me cry. Kind of sad that I didn't get to show you guys that, but like there's a crisis moment with there where like she's like ended up writing like a teen like novel, or she became a ghostwriter for it, but she gets stuck. And she gets stuck because she can't just figure out how the main character, who feels useless and unneeded, can move past it. And that's because the story became kind of her story. And when she has a confronting moment when she feels like she's failed the lab mems, and like Okabe confronts her, and she's just like feeling worthless and useless, and like, why am I even alive? Because no one wants me. And that was like such a highlight. And like, I think I'm really glad I did My Darling's Embrace last for Moeka, because with Linear Bounded Phenogram, I understood her backstory. Watching Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero, I got to see her whole life and how it spirals when the one person she actually thought was there for her cuts her off. And seeing how horrible and terrible that was. It was really cool to see though how like there's the alpha line, the beta line, the delta line, or at least like delta, gamma, and then Steins Gate. I saw delta's 3, gamma's 4 in the delta world line, which is the My Darling's Embrace with Moeka. We get to see she's on the screen right now too. We get to see the music's like too loud. I can hear it. Oh, it's on my computer. So yeah, we'll put some music on, but we get to see this real side to her, and like the pain and sorrow that she's, you know, carrying around with her like a weight on her shoulders. And like in the Delta world line, the 3, for whatever reason, the rounders aren't really a thing. It implies that like that it ends pretty peacefully on those world lines. Like things go pretty well. And like when she, like in that world line, Tenoji, Mr. Braun, he isn't part of the rounders, and he genuinely cares for Moeka. Like he becomes like a guardian for her. Like he starts seeing her as a daughter. And to see that relationship and how he cares for her like he cares for Na, to see that, and to see that love for her, and then to see her still struggle, you know, even when she's not working for the Rounders, even when she's not being manipulated emotionally, even when she's genuinely being cared for. And it's too close to, I think, what people actually experience when they feel like they're in a place of worthlessness, in the bouts of depression, and when they're like the recipients of severe trauma. Like, it's too real, and it's something that really hit me hard. And I loved that story. I thought the ending was really cute. Thing like bashful Moeka, smiling Moeka, really worth it. So Moeka deserved better. She deserved a lot better. And while she's not my favorite romanceable option, I think that we can all agree that she deserves so much better. And without Darling's embrace, like, I think it's unfortunate that she never even gets like a kind of happy ending, you know? So, yeah. The other one I covered today that wasn't on the channel was Suzuha. Suzuha's stories are really interesting. She's the one, obviously, we play the most with the time travel. And so naturally, she's got some of the most like weird loopholes where the rules don't seem to quite apply. Just because when you actually have a person physically traveling in time, it has these odd questions of like, if they travel back in time, then technically their events that led them to travel back in time have already happened. And so unless they can actually physically leap into different world lines, it really brings up a problem where like this doesn't seem to work in a lot of ways, but they explain their way through it pretty well. Like, but unfortunately, that until we get to like a world line where Suzuha doesn't have to travel back in time, if she's there, then it means that her mission is a failure. And like that's kind of sad, but like they do explore that really, really well. Linear Bounded Phenograms with her, I think that was her weakest story. The idea that her spectral like selves from other world lines like were somehow supporting her and helping her in the Gamma world line, it was weird. I'm really glad though, like I'm not entirely sure if it's confirmed that the made version of Suzuha is from the Delta world line, but it does heavily imply that that's the case, which means that like the Faris ending in My Darling's Embrace is the canon ending. At least I'm gonna pretend it is, so we're gonna go with that and say that and like just this idea of like her interacting with like copies of herself is just so weird. But it is kind of fun to play with that idea of like seeing the different versions of her, because of all the characters, she changes the most between world lines, and so it is kind of fun to see her confronting that and wondering like in what universe was I this person and what universe was I this person. And so it's really interesting to see that. Suzuha has a character and a character study in general. Really, really fun to kind of like come to know with. I mean, like, she's so hardcore. I think personality, she's not the most like interesting and engaging character, especially the dateable characters for me, as you I'm sure all know. But I think physically, like character design and also character like the things that she likes to do and the kind of person that she is, I do think that there's something very appealing about her. In real life, I think I would have been very interested in her as a person, not just because of the way she carries herself, but also just the fact that she's such a go-getter. I've always been a big fan of people who don't have to be cajoled into things. They're like driven, who have who set goals and set out to get them. People who aren't shy about what they want, and who are who are makers of their own destiny. And Suzuha is absolutely that to a T. She is a character who will go and do and make things happen. She can be a little short-sighted. She can be a little too emotional. Like her emotions run high, and that's her greatest weakness, is that she can be compromised by emotion very easily, and it can often leads her into most of her pitfalls and like problems. Like pretty much every problem she faces is something that derived from her emotions, and that's not really a failing, that's human nature, but it is a concern. But at the same time, it makes her such a relatable character. My Darling's Embrace path, like I said, it was super cringy with the Daru stuff, but that was on purpose. In general, I think it was really fun. I especially liked flirty Suzuha, like Suzuha who's like like actually cares about the way people perceive her and like has this concept of infatuation, because in every other route she's always very focused on her goals and she just doesn't ever consider that kind of stuff to be a thing. Anyways, that's Suzuha. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to be ignoring your comments. So Nathan says there's actually a short Blu-ray called Hide of the Dark Dimension that has some interesting stories about Okabe and Moeka. Maybe you can watch it sometime. I would love to. Those are the types of things that are just not easily accessible. I likely would have to get a copy and then have to find a fan like translation file to somehow apply to it. There's a lot of steps to something like that. I would love to watch it, but as far as I know, Hide of the Dark Dimension is not translated in any professional way, and getting access to a fan translation could be really difficult. Not impossible, but I'm not sure if I currently am willing to go to those leaps, but you're absolutely right. There are some special CDs that Steins Gate has and related to the releases, because remember, Steins Gate came out back in the time when visual novels really exploded, and I'm sure it was part of that, but it also was back when these visual novels were passion projects. Like, they put a ton of money into these things, and obviously they wanted them to be successful, but like, they didn't make this to be a AAA type experience. They didn't make this with this like wanting to make millions overseas. This was a game that was made for people who love stories and animation and music. Basically us. It was made for people like us. And so back then, after they released the game, like before they released Zero, like My Darling's Embrace, Altered Fable and My Darling's Embrace have one thing in common. Altered Fable is similar to what My Darling's Embrace is before Muv-Luv, and both of them are love letters to the fans. They are passion projects that deviate from the plot to just give us just fluffy goodness of characters we love. They're both cut the same cloth, and they're motivated by the same thing, not by money. They're motivated by a passion for the art and for the thing that the creators made. Linear Bounded Phenogram was a fantastic exploration of different stories that couldn't really be covered in the main storyline, but were part of the whole experience of Okabe like attempting to save his best friend. And so they really are important, and it just shows because the writers had written all these things likely before they even really knew where they were going with like the whole finale, especially with Steins Gate Zero. Like, these are things that they wrote that they just cut or couldn't include because it just didn't seem to fit. But like, it shows their passion and love, and there are CDs and things that they came out with in between the years of release that they kind of like were little teasers and little tastes for their fans. And it's like, I wish I could have been involved in all of that, but at the same time, I also am really happy that I get to explore visual novels now, because there's such a vast library of them. And get on that. Oh, fetch Sarkoth, you got those? I've checked out your channel a little bit, but I was scared of like I beyond a few things, I've never dived deeply into your content just because I didn't want to spoil anything, but now I can. And so yeah, okay, sweet. So some of the audio CDs are subbed on YouTube. Absolutely gonna jump into that. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah, if you know of any ways for me to jump into some of those, especially like, I'd love it if you could message me on Discord share a link or just a source. Frankly, be careful. Like, if it's a shifty site, I might not click the link just because, you know, safety concerns. I don't want to fry my computer. Oh, and also, so Sarkoth, like, kind of a dead channel, like, doesn't matter, man. Like, it might just not be getting promoted by the algorithm, but if you don't have time or energy or interest in like putting stuff out, like, you've already done enough. Oh yeah. See, you just graduated, so you might have a little more time. See, that's the thing that's gonna be different about me, is like, I'm actually going back to school, so I hope my channel doesn't die, but I really have no intention of doing that. It's just, I'm not gonna be able to step it up for a little while. But anyway, regardless of that, like, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if there's anything that like I can do, I'd love to help, but again, I can't do translations or anything, so I doubt it. But yeah, if you start posting stuff, if you start posting videos again, like, I'll be following them, and likely, like, I'll probably share links to them just because your work's really good. So thank you, Sarkoth. If anyone isn't confused, like, click on his name, check out some of his stuff. He's done a lot of really good, or her, I don't know technically. I'm guessing he, but it doesn't really matter. Sarkoff, some really good Steins Gate stuff that you can check out, and just you know, it's someone who's been recognized. Like, people in comments in my videos will actually like see your Sarkoff, see your comments, and they'll actually like say, hey, fan of your work, fan of your stuff. Like, you do some good work, man. Yeah, you are, guy. It's until I know for sure, I just assume everyone's effectively a Luka. Like, who knows, right? All right, so I'm gonna move on again. So I guess like Suzuha, wonderful, fantastic character, really interesting exploration of like time travel in general. But I'm gonna move on, and we're gonna actually move to Luka. Now I've done a bit of a name drop of Luka. Okay, Luka, banana. Luka's interesting. I think for the time, it was a really fun character to explore, and still is. I do worry now that I'm more aware and have had friends and talked to people who are transgender. I do think that characters like Luka do the transgender community a bit of a disservice. The idea of a trap, or like feminine guys or masculine girls, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, with Luka especially, you take it to this extreme where it's like Luka feels like he should have been a girl. He feels like he's a girl and has a desire to be a girl. I think that the game is a little too lax with that, because it is a real thing, and it's a real source of stress and confusion and frustration, especially when trying to explain it to friends and family. It can be really destructive and disruptive. But when we aren't exploring Luka's story specifically, it kind of becomes a running joke. And that's problematic, but it's not too indelicate to the point where I think it's really an issue. I just think it is important to remember when Okabe has his whole like, oh, da 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 da, but he's a guy, da 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 da, but he's a guy. Like, it's kind of a joke, but like, there are real people who really struggle with that identity, and it's not even like this idea of like a feminine guy. Like, nothing wrong with that. You can be a very like, you can have a guy who is very feminine but not transgender, and that's awesome and great and fun, and makes great characters too. But when transgenderism is a thing, it becomes more muddled when you take and can inadvertently trivialize the subject that can be so powerful. And so I think in My Darling's Embrace, the thing I liked the most about that was the fact that we explored a relationship potential between Okabe and Luka that didn't involve Luka being a girl, because that's kind of what made it really interesting. Was this like an odd and kind of like for me a bit, was, again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to be like, oh, social justice warrior. It's Sarkoff, you're saying it perfectly. Like, it's, in your opinion, it kind of comes with being a product of the time and place where the game was made. You're right. That's the biggest difference, is that for its time, I would actually say that it was very open about the concept of transgenderism. But it's just something to keep in mind, that it's even, because like, they do a good job when they talk about Luka. Like, Luka's routes do a great job of tackling this issue. But when it's not Luka's routes, it is a bit of a joke. And so it's something to just keep in mind. That's all I'm saying here. I really loved in My Darling's Embrace that the exploration wasn't a relationship with Luka as a female, which is what Steins Gate did. It was still a powerful story and really interesting, and one of the more touching ones too, especially with the fact that it was the only ending that actually showed us potential future. Like, their love story in Steins Gate resulted in them getting married. Like, I think married. It is implied marriage, but like having a family. Like, holy crap, we never get to see that with anybody. Like the next closest is Mayuri, and even then, like, we don't actually see that. We just see the conception of it, the idea of it. But Luka, we actually get a slide. We get like a picture of it, and it's like, holy crap! Like that's like canon, like in that world line that they have a child and a happy marriage, like a kind of dysfunctional marriage because of just how terrible they both feel about like choosing their happiness over Mayuri's life, but they still like move forward, and it's a beautiful story. But then to see in My Darling's Embrace this idea of Okabe like really opening himself up to the questions about like if somebody like loves you and like are you like, can you move past your own like, because there's a difference between initial bias and actual like attraction. Like maybe at first being flirted with can be too shocking to consider when it's somebody of the same gender, but like in that storyline, Okabe kind of like opens up to the concept and realizes that like whilst he doesn't normally have feelings for other guys, like for Luka, there is a genuine feeling there, and he gets to explore that, and it's a really cool thing to get into. Like politics aside, I just think it's a really cool character exploration, and Luka is adorable. So like it's hard to be too serious about this topic. I also think it's important to remember that Luka is like the most loyal character by far. Luka like gives his all in the end, and I also think it's important to remember that like Luka is one of the most scared, which means that in a sense, when Luka rises to the occasion, Luka's the bravest, because bravery isn't a lack of fear; it's overcoming your fear. So I thought it was pretty bold for them to make a love rock for Luka as a guy. I didn't expect that going into Darling's Embrace. I agree. Like, I didn't expect it either, and I was really happy to see it as a, like, exploration, because I think they didn't try and make it ham-fisted, you know? Like, the Luka-Okabe relationship wasn't forced. There was a development over time that made a lot of sense. The progression was easy to track, and he almost fell for Luka with Okabe. And like seeing that Okabe could be honest with himself in the end was really cool to see. Oh yeah, future Luka is awesome. Someone mentioned, I think it might have been you, Starkoth, somebody at least mentioned in my Steins Gate Zero, saying that Luka was kind of done dirty in the visual novel, and that in the anime they did better. You're absolutely right. When I watched Zero in anime form, Luka has his freaking awesome like future combat moment. Is freaking cool. It's probably like the most violent thing that's in all of Steins Gate, and it's freaking awesome and really sad. But yeah, Luka's good. He's good civilization for sure. So yep, Luka is an interesting one, a fantastic case study. You're absolutely right, a product of the times. I think it's a great character exploration, but something that needs to be taken with like an understanding that it is trivialized a little too much in the face of people who are actually struggling. For Luka and Okabe as characters, though, it makes total sense. It plays really well. It's fine. I don't have any issues with it at all. And I doubt anybody. I would doubt that there would be very many people, even in the transgender community, who would have a problem with Okabe and Luka's relationship and Luka as a character, because frankly the whole concept of that story is feeling uncomfortable in your own skin and not feeling like you can talk about it, because that's what a lot of the reality is for a lot of people who are transgendered. So it's just something to keep in mind. Sporting on combo, yeah, freaking awesome. Luka is my man. And my woman. It's whatever world line we're in. Luka's great. Alright. We're getting close to the end a bit. So we gotta talk about my main girl, my personal favorite, my pick. Our best girl of Steins Gate is Faris. I'm not shy about it. As you all know, I'm sure. Gotta wet the whistle a bit. Faris is interesting because initially she made me cringe a lot like Okabe, but I feel like she's one of the most deep characters, especially for one who is essentially a side character. I think they did her a bit unfairly in all these games, but it was kind of worth it because I think she has one of the most dynamic, complicated, and most like impactful backstories and motivations and choices. In Steins Gate Core, her story was the one that got me like one of the hardest. It was her plight and like the reality of the situation for her with her D-mail brought me to open tears. It was the first point that really brought me to tears in the series. A lot of it had to do with her father and her bond with her father, because it reminded me a lot of my bond with my dad. And whilst like we're very introverted and so we don't talk a whole lot, like I still feel very passionately how much I love my dad and how much how much he impacted my life. And she reflects a lot of those same like attitudes. Like she doesn't worship her dad, she's not obsessed with her dad, but she genuinely loves and looks to him as an inspiration, and that's how I see my dad. And to see her like living with like the glory and the joy of having her father in her life, knowing and remembering the life where she didn't, and yet she still chose to send a D-mail to save Mayuri because in her mind, her happiness and like even knowing what she was giving up was still not worth it because she couldn't accept like the cost. And to me, it just blew me away. And then we get to explore in Linear Bounded Phenogram like the pressure. Sorry, Kathy, just kept saying here. I'll get back to your other comment in a bit because I want to stay on topic, but you're right with like in Linear Bounded Phenogram we really get to explore this idea of like Faris's burden, like with Akihabara lying on her shoulders, with adults constantly like seeking to manipulate her and in order to get themselves an edge, in order to take control of situations, in order to like build their own empires, and to be constantly hounded by that, to just want to be a normal person and yet be really unable to do so. And thus like she retreats into a persona, into a job, a job that she cherishes because it's a job, but she works her butt off in it. Like it's not like she's lazy. She owns that business, but she acts like a normal employee and she works as hard as a normal employee. She does what she loves, and she has these like kind of chuny type of stories, grandiose, very similar to Okabe, and for similar reasons, because it allows her to step away from who she is and step into a persona. In Linear Bounded Phenogram, it was really fun to see her and Suzuha working together, but for her to emerge a new personality and to see her personality start to coming at odds and fusing together. And actually, in fact, I read a lot of books, like I said before. One of my favorite characters in a book by Brandon Sanderson is Shallan. And Shallan ends up having a very similar kind of crisis as a character as I see with Faris, which is really fun. Although Shallan takes it to a whole nother level. But she also, like, to deal with like various aspects of her life that are overwhelming, she kind of has these different personalities, these masks she puts on to be able to process things in different settings. And so it's really fun to see Faris operate in that, but Faris's system makes a lot more sense and is a lot more grounded. Seeing her and Suzuha kind of becoming like a crime fighting duo. First of all, their outfits are amazing, but the crime fighting duo is really fun. But to see Faris getting like too caught up in it and like the consequences of that is really interesting. My Darling's Embrace was really fun, just to see like the struggles of a business and to see her and Okabe like working hard and like everyone working into May Queen and like getting a following and like playing different roles. Like Kurisu Tsundere maid was super fun, and Okabe being like the dark butler. It's like it was all just cute. I hated how much I had to focus on 4 Degrees, my least favorite character in the whole freaking game series. Like, obviously, it's not hard to like hate him. Like, he's meant to be hated, but oh my gosh, can they make a character more infuriating? He's so annoying, and he's so good at being bad, even in the different world lines where he's like his antagonism is almost like plot convenient. It's still horrid. It's horrid, but I love it all the same. But yeah, so besides 4 degrees Celsius, like, her story was really good, except the biggest gripe I have is that there's not a lot of evidence of her and Okabe actually being happy together. And that bugs me a lot, because I feel like other characters get a much better exploration of like the potential that they have, the love that they could have. Yeah, you're right, Sarkoth. I'm glad they cut him from the anime. But like the love, and like I feel like that they have a lot of potential, and I'm super biased here because I think she's great. I love her as a character, but like, truth be told, there's something kind of missing from that whole relationship and potential relationship. This idea that like, if you take the Faris route in Steins Gate 1, like Steins Gate 0, like not Steins Gate 0, Steins Gate like core, most of the time there's some kind of relationship involved. Suzuha is an exception, but it makes sense for her. It's more about like just kind of trying to keep her alive, letting her have a life that she deserved. I mean, Luka, there's a relationship. We're getting to Kurisu and Mayuri, of course. There's relationships there. Moeka, sadly, not really, but that's a whole other conversation we've already had. But, and then My Darling's Embrace, like, again, relationships. In Steins Gate Original, the fact that, like, when you choose to try and just be happy with Faris and not rob her of those, like, ambitions and those dreams, he switches to that line, and then Okabe ends up, like, really drastically changing that world line to the point where, like, the two of them grew up as best friends and were, like, dating each other when he jumps into his body and has no memory of that. That whole line was heartbreaking because he doesn't meet most of the lab mems. The world's still doomed, and like he and Faris had a powerful like relationship that he obliterated, and then like he has to try and build up again, but he's too like distraught about like what he's done and the choice he's made about like Mayuri. Like you can kind of see it's not really going to go anywhere, and it's really just depressing. And then Linear Bounded Phenogram, like we see Faris becoming a hero, but that's kind of like, it's just about this complex she has about like trying to like be herself. And in My Darling's Embrace, while it implies like there's a lot of like barrier breaking between Okabe and Faris, and we really get to see like Rumio, like the real Rumio shine through, because even when she's like at home and calls herself Rumio, like we still don't see a whole lot of that real her until like the few dates with Okabe. And I loved that. Those are my favorite moments in My Darling's Embrace entirely. It's like seeing the real Faris, like the real Rumio. But even then, like even when she is letting her guard down a little bit around Okabe, like, and he's even able to tell, like she still is like so quick to pick it back up, so quick to hide again. It would be really interesting to see if they could end up being happy together, but it's never an idea that's explored, which makes me really sad. But again, like, I do think of all the characters, like, as weird as it would be, like, I imagine if I were a real, like, really in that universe meeting these characters, I imagine Faris would be someone who I initially would be very wary about speaking with and being able to, like, I feel like she would be really hard to approach and really hard to get to know, and everyone would like her, and like everyone's obsessed with her, so I'd be like, whatever, not gonna be a thing. But then as I got to know her, I could see myself really like wanting to be a good friend of her, to be able to meet her, to be able to understand her. And it's really funny because it's like she seems like she's the more vapid character, but she's actually one of the most down-to-earth, most real, and I really like her for that. But yeah, so I gotta point out, like, kind of funny that she still plays Catgirl in 2036. Yeah, that's the thing, like that persona, even during World War III, it's like keeping her sane, keeping her safe. It's just what she holds on to. Like, I don't know if it's because she just was working with the lab mems, or if it's literally like just like who she just wants to be when she doesn't have to be like the responsible, like Akihabara is my hometown. But like obviously Rumio couldn't really have survived World War III, considering what happens to Akihabara during like World War III and that whole era. Like I think Rumio technically dies by the end, by that point. Like that part of her personality is probably so buried she probably never really brings it out ever again, which is a really sad thing to realize, considering she's so happy and go lucky. But I think she's in permanent Faris mode at that point. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Anyway. Okay. Man, I've been talking a lot. Of course, that's what I'm here for, right? Now, time for us to talk about kind of trying to wrap up the character breakdown and kind of getting towards the end of this stream. We got the girls. We got Alpha and Beta. We got and I'm almost not sure which one I want to do in the order. I think I know who I have to end this on. So we will talk right now, second to last, Mayuri. It's kind of a given. Mayuri, we love. Everyone should, everyone does love Mayuri. She's the best. She's probably like the greatest best friend you could ever have. Playing her route in My Darling's Embrace really opened my eyes a lot. I really loved how in Zero we understand like the real bitter sadness of her love for Okabe, how it's always been there, and how she like lets it go. And that's something that's so consistent with her character. Not just like a personality, but also just like throughout all the stories, she's always done that. Like, she's sad, but she's very happy to see Okabe happy. And whilst it brings her a lot of grief, like, she's far more concerned with him being happy. So you could say that she's truly loves Okabe. Like, she truly loves him. Because her love is unconditional. She doesn't have to feel like she, you know, gets to marry him and end up with him in the end. No matter what route, no matter where her life takes her, she just loves. I mean, Kagari, like, she literally becomes like a mother, like in the future, trying like adopting and working with orphans. Like, she's always there to be with her friends, and she's like one of the most like precious fictional characters ever, but she's still so human and real. And she'd rather see Hyun and Kyoma come back even if she can't be with him. Like, oh, so good. Such good moments. And like, just heart-wrenching and heartbreaking in the whole thing. And then to see in My Darling's Embrace, like, the relationship that could have been, and how hard Okabe still had to fight to keep her from just fleeing, because she was so convinced that like Okabe would be happier with other people. Like, holy crap. Like, she definitely, like you said, she got the best spin-off route. You're right. Like, Mayuri really won My Darling's Embrace. She's the main route of that game for a reason. But, like, it's not just, like, favoritism. It's not just, like, oh, her route's the longest. It's, like, you really finally get to understand, like, just what her feelings for Okabe are and how he feels for her. Like, if Kurisu hadn't showed up and being Kurisu, like, I like to think eventually he might have figured out he loves Mayuri, like, in that way. We know he loves her because he was willing to, like, destroy everything he loved to keep her alive. But, like, you know, it's in the true canon route, he doesn't love Mayuri that way. Not really in action, not in realization. Even in her ending in the core game, there's like a bitterness to it all, you know? It's really depressing too. Like, I hate the Mayuri ending of the core game, not because it's Mayuri, but because Okabe, like, he loves her, but like there's that lingering shadow of like sorrow in his face, in his heart. So yeah, Mayuri, best girl, probably, especially in My Darling's Embrace. Like, I love Faris, and I love her story and her exploration of the character, but I don't think she's as good for Okabe as Mayuri is. I wish we all could have a Mayuri in our lives, you know? Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't it be great to be able to have that? To have somebody we can cherish so hardly in our lives? And now to Kurisu. Because whilst I have a lot of opinions about the various routes of Steins Gate, well, like, I have all these great characterizations in mind, I can't hide the fact that I think Kurisu is probably the best character. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm really captivated by Faris. I really love Mayuri as a person. But I think the world kind of agrees that there's something entrancing about Kurisu. The genius girl tsundere, but super like and super secret geeky geek. Oh man. I think that she's really fun, adorable, beautiful, character design in every way, just fantastic. And I also think that when push comes to shove, even in light of the Mayuri ending, I still think that Okabe and Kurisu are like the match. I think, like I say this about Takeru in Muv-Luv, that like I'm not a huge fan of Samika, but I think Takeru and Samika are meant to be together. Okabe, Kurisu, I think they're meant to be. Like, there's a reason why they're portrayed together. There's a reason why like the ultimate true ending is with him and her like meeting each other after he's done everything he could and helped her survive to the end without triggering a war that we know of. But yeah, that channeler, Christina, she's the girl. She's the one. I hope this isn't too loud, because like it's definitely like we've looped back to the beginning. Yeah, it's louder. Sorry, I'm turning it down a bit. Kurisu is special, and I think that she's worthy, and like it's horrific what Okabe has to go through with her. Like, I think that's the crowning like moment of Steins Gate, is like his determination to like save Mayuri, and the realization of like Kurisu having to die, like going back to that world where she's dead, and then the desperate like rush of like, oh, maybe we can save her, and then the horror of realizing that like by going back to save her, he inadvertently became the reason she died instead of like her like stupid dad. Like, holy crap. Like that whole like exploration, so powerful. And then like whole like Zero's timeline of like him being unable to like make that other attempt after having like exhausted like 1,000 lifetimes worth of trying to fight time, and like just unable to face having to go through all that again, like after barely getting like Mayuri to be able to stay alive, like to he just wasn't willing to deal with it. It makes so much sense. Like, I was so frustrated with him. Everyone was frustrated with him, but I totally get it. I get it. But and then the Kurisu stuff in my Linear Bounded Phenogram really captivates this idea of just how the bickering is a little insane sometimes, but to really see like the truth of her character, and like the moments in Zero and Linear Bounded Phenogram where she takes upon herself, even knowing that she's literally writing herself out of existence by throwing Okabe back into the cycle. She's like quietly steps up and says like, look, this is wrong and you need to go back. And she's like it's one of those things where it's like Faris's was hard because she was losing her dad. Like all of them lose their dreams and lose something really important to them, but like Kurisu was literally like giving herself up, her whole life, her dreams and ambitions. And even in the Alpha World line, she like the whole like the exploration of the idea that like she like is working with like effectively a gun to her head for SERN, but she's like allowed to come back for a little bit for Mayuri's like anniversary funeral kind of thing, and like she uses that as a means to like get Okabe back into the loop again. Like, it's just so powerful. And like again, like I talked about how Faris' story made me cry, but like the ending with Kurisu, when I still remember to this day. Because, like, I really didn't know at this point when I was playing the original game the true ending for Kurisu. And so, like, I really like the moment when, like, Okabe's, like, standing over the button to, like, send, like, the D-mail that's going to undo, like, her, effectively, to save Mayuri. Like, he's got his finger over the enter key, and he's, like trying to, like, get himself to push the button, and, like, tears running down his face. Like, I remember that scene. It's probably one of those most impactful moments of any game or story I've ever had. And like sending it and then having Kurisu burst in at that last second, rips my soul apart just thinking about it. her story, My Darling's Embrace, with the wristband, really highlighted the whole like fighting aspect. But like, and so like I feel like it took it to an extreme that was a little too high, but still in the end, I loved how it played out, this whole idea of like it actually working, about how the two of them really just have to be honest with each other and like things just work out. I also really loved how like they recorded her dream and it broadcast it, and the dream was her like on this like super romantic and super like GB date with Okabe. Okabe being super studly. I loved it. It was great. So again, Kurisu, well, Kurisu might not be all of our best girl. I think in a lot of polls she still is best girl for most people. But I think we all kind of have to agree, at least I think most of us would, that Kurisu and Okabe, best boy, best girl for each other. You see, your hands, yeah. Sarkozy saying, I liked in Zero, and we got to see what would happen if he didn't push the button. Yeah, we did, and like how she kind of made him push the button anyway. And the dream was from before the bracelet. Yeah. No, she that's the thing, is like in all the paths, like it's kind of hinted at in every like My Darling's Embrace path, in, well, not everyone, but most of them, like you get the undertones that Kurisu does like Okabe, but she kind of like sets it aside when like he starts falling for somebody else. But like no, she's like, it's like the two of them, they're like, wish I could remember the story. It's like, is it Orion and the Pleiades? No. It's like, it's the two stars and the Milky Way, or like the river. And it's like, how is it Jason and Andromeda? I think that's the original Greek story of where like the two of them are like eternally, like Andromeda was like taken up into the sky and made a star, and then like Jason is like constantly building a bridge attempting to visit her, and so he's a star on like on either side of the Milky Way, and like and it's constantly like this never-ending chase. I think and then Princess Kaguya, I think, is the Japanese like equivalent of that story, the idea of like the prince and like the moon princess, and like how this idea of like the eternal chase, the idea of like eternal love, but a constant journey to achieve it. This is a modern representation of that type of narrative. It's a classic, like almost as old as humanity type of story. But this is I think this is one of the best like modern ones. When you say so, Orihime, sorry, and Vega and Altier. Okay, yeah. I think those are what I was probably trying to say, but I was mixing it up with some, like it's all jumbled in my head. Yeah, Vega and Altier is probably like the Greek version, and then Orihime I think is the Kaguya, like the one I was saying was Kaguya, but I like obviously probably mixing it up. But yeah, it's like this idea of like eternally seeking, and like for every step forward, there's three steps forward, 2 steps back, yet that's like never deters. The journey continues, like the chase never ends. And that's really kind of what the Okabe and Kurisu story is. It's kind of a modern version of that, a modern lore. And I almost want to say it's modern lore because Steins Gate has been one of those series that like kind of breaches all barriers. Like there's a lot of people I think play Steins Gate who don't play visual novels very much. There's a lot of people who watch the anime who don't even watch anime very much. But if they do watch anime or do play visual novels, they almost inevitably will be taking part in Steins Gate. Yeah. So I'll get back to that in a second. So like, it's this idea of like a modern revitalization of that story, like the eternal chase. Now, Sargoth, you're saying here again too, like you had to look up to understand what Mayuri was talking about with the whole Hikoboshi thing. Yeah, like it's again the same story, where Hikoboshi, it's like the eternal chase, and like for Mayuri though, I think she was seeing herself as like she wanted to be the one that was pursued, like, but she wasn't. And I think that there is an aspect in that original story about that too, like another person who's involved in the story somehow. But I don't know enough about that to know for sure. But you're right, like it's yeah, that was a big one, and I think that was actually really nicely like translations, as I've played more of these games and watched more anime, like I understand like translating is really, really hard, especially with cultural metaphors and like wordplay and everything. And I think a lot of like cultural references, like the story of like the Hikobashi story and all that, like those are some of the hardest things to translate properly with the dignity that you need. And I think in the translation of Zero, that was the right call to just keep the name Hikobashi, because it's not something I think would have translated very well. And I think that it invited us to expand and want to learn more. And so like it was really, really good and important to see and be a part of that. So yeah, like my interpretation, my feelings about Kurisu, she's definitely one of the cutest characters in the whole game. I don't think it'd be hard for, like, it's hard to believe that any of us could not really like enjoy her as a character. I think she could and Okabe are really perfect for each other. They fit together so well. She's just a lot of fun. Man, I wish we could be as smart as she is. And also so dangerous too. Like, she's so innocent and such a good, wholesome person, and the whole stuff with her dad and everything is so heartbreaking. And like, it also sucks too, because like even when she's dead, she can't be left alone in Zero. Like the whole idea of like a brain scan of her is still being the center of like world politics and time travel and like world destruction. Like she can't even in death find peace, and it's so heartbreaking to feel that, but it makes us all want to cheer for her all the more. Plus she's got like the best outfit ever. Oh man. So I think we're kind of here now. This is the end of Steins Gate for this channel, and I want to talk a little bit about the future of where we're going, because a lot of you have asked, and I've actually mentioned in a few comments and a couple end of videos, but like I'm gonna kind of spill all the beans, I'm gonna get all the laundry out. Since for anyone who's still here watching stuff at this point, this is kind of be there was two things I wanted to do here, and I can only do one of them, and I'll kind of explain why. Because they kind of stem from the same problem here. The problem is, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? And that's a tough question to answer. A lot of people have been clamoring that they really want me to play Chaos. Which one's on Steam specifically? Chaos. There's Chaos Head, I think, is first, and then Chaos Child. I think Chaos Child is the one that's on Steam right now. I could try and get Chaos Head and play it, but it had to be like a fan unofficial translation, and then I play Chaos Child. But it's also pretty clear I don't have to do that. Like, besides like maybe losing some context, it sounds like that the two are kind of independent of each other narratively, kind of like Persona games, I think, where like obviously if you played Persona games beforehand, you understand a lot more like what's going on and like how it all works better, like the context and the vocabulary. But you can play Persona 5 by itself, isolated, and still enjoy it and get it, follow the story and everything. Like the beats will make sense, like everything's explained well. I get the impression that Chaos Head and Chaos Child are the same way. And then there's robotics, and you know, like the new game's gonna be coming out soon as part of the universe. But I've run into some trouble. Spike Chunsoft recently went through some changes with buyouts and separations from conglomerates like 5MPB or whatever it is, like the kind of other people that helped make Steins Gate. There's some like divisions and splits that have happened, and in light of that, in the past year, there's been some interesting crackdowns where I initially got permission to cover this stuff on my channel, and it was all hunky-dory. I got a lot of claims on my channel and my videos, like a lot of copyright strikes on like the series as a whole, stretching way back to the first game and happening to videos as I uploaded them. Now, I don't have a problem with that. If it's a question of monetization, I don't need to monetize. I don't do this for monetization. I monetize as I do, and for the same reason I have a Patreon. It's not like it's actually giving me an income. It's not like I am like reliant on it to make content, but it's setting a precedent that someday it would be amazing to be able to do this content full time. It sets a framework and it establishes this idea of how I perceive this channel. That regardless of how big or small it is, I plan to run it like it's a full-fledged, fully successful channel. I'm building the habits and I'm setting myself standards to make sure that no matter what happens in the future, that the channel will function as I want it to. And so I monetize for that reason. And another reason I monetize, like, it's the one that no one ever really talks about, but it's real. And that's the fact that YouTube makes money off of monetized videos. That's the primary income for the company. And so, like, it's no stretch of the imagination, despite the fact that they'll say otherwise, that YouTube will not be giving priority to videos that are not monetized because they're not earning anything from it. It's just there. Oh yeah, don't worry, Sarkoth, like, don't make it work. I made that mistake. Yeah, I could see that being a problem. It's a fine line to walk, but, like, I think you can make a hobby work as long as you remember, like, to not make it your only work. But that's the thing, is, like, I do think if I could somehow make this channel work into something that could pay bills and something that could, like, make it so I could spend more time on it, I don't know if I would burn myself out, or at least I'd be self-aware enough not to do that, but that's beside the point. Ultimately, the biggest thing I want to talk about here is this idea that, like, I run the channel like I do, not because I'm greedy, not because I'm trying to make, like, steal money or anything like that. I have no problem with patrons coming and going. Frankly, if you ever become a patron and then you drop out, I have no intention of, like, taking away a lot of the privileges you unlock with it. Like, you could be a patron for a month and give me a $1 and never pay again, and frankly, I think you've earned the right to everything I offer, because frankly, that's more than I deserve. So, like, don't feel like it's a hard lock and, like, the content is going to be, like, special gated away. No, I make it very clear that, like, for patrons, like, all you're getting is the patron cast, which is, I think it's a really fun thing I do, and I made a few public, but, like, ultimately it's just me kind of talking about stuff, answering questions directly, and sharing things I like and all that. But oh, thank you. I'm my dude. Just keep doing. Please continue your work. Absolutely. Like, I do want to, man. So, like, if you ever become a patron, like, you'll never, like, if you you'll unlock everything that patrons get, and your name will be in the title, like, the end crawls and whatever. Like, I don't know, like, I'm so far away from having to really try and wrestle with a lot of those aspects that it's just not something I think about. But so I do that for a reason, and like I said, the biggest thing about monetization on YouTube is because I think it makes YouTube more likely to feature my video, and I want to find audience. I want to find people who want to, like, watch this content, because I struggled to find content creators that made games like this stuff like this on my own. Cash Shot, I was actually just talking about Cash Shot. I feel like I summoned you by talking about Cash Shot. I'm talking about that right now, actually, so hold on and I'll explain, like, why we might not do Cash Shot yet. So hold your horses for just a sec. I'm getting there. So I monetize because YouTube promotes monetized videos more than non-monetized videos, because they make money from it. So it makes a lot of sense if I want to help find audience members, find people who are looking for stuff like I was when I first started this channel. Like, I think I stand a much better chance of that if I monetize. Of course, you'll notice that except for the fact that YouTube, like, fiddled with some of the background stuff and, like, forcibly put mid-roll ads in a bunch of videos that were older, I never wanted that. I just wanted a video, if ads popped up, I wanted it to be the beginning of a video, maybe the end. That's it. That's all I ever wanted. I never do mid-rolls. If I'm like the only ones that are there are forced on me, because frankly, you don't come to watch ads, you come to watch the content. So that's kind of, I try and dip my toe in both. I'm following the footsteps of great creators like Mini True Nerd, who's probably my personal favorite, especially my best example of how I want to run a channel. He has a very successful channel. He doesn't have to have tons of subscribers. He's got enough. He does live streams, but he live streams what he wants to do, like, because he wants to. He doesn't do mid-roll ads. He has a Patreon, and he does a patron cast. Like, you'll see a lot of parallels, because I think that his model is great, because it walks that line so well between not being too obnoxious, but also, like, really, like, allowing the channel to be what it is and making content that he wants to make, regardless of how successful it will be. And I'm glad he's been successful. But there's a downside to monetizing your videos, and this is where Chunsoft and like the future of covering their games on this channel comes into play, because they started aggressively going after my videos. When they do that, they make copyright claims against my videos, which means they either shut down monetization completely or they claim it. Now, the problem with that is not the monetization issue. That can be a problem for people who are full-time. Even if I go full-time, though, I don't want that to be the case. That's why I do Patreon, because frankly, a lot of this content is based on other people's work. I'm not going to try and claim money. They feel like if they feel like they should be having it, like I'm never going to be begrudging that. They have every right to. I make this content unique and personalized. I really legally have a right to post it, but I'm not going to begrudge them for wanting to take, you know, their fair share, even if that fair share is all of it. That's fine. The problem is that when they forcibly put a copyright strike on my channel, YouTube sees that. The more I get, the less reputable they start to see me. It means that it affects my ability to be interacted in the algorithm. Now, these aren't strikes. Channel strikes are big offenses that can delete my channel. I have yet to get one of those, thank goodness. I've been doing my best to make sure like that's where the coconuts come in, to help make sure we don't get those. But these claims shut down monetization, which means the videos perform less. And I noticed, like, when if a video gets monetized, even if it's in a series, where like with Steins Gate, I typically see in the first week we get somewhere between 50 and 100 views in the first week. It actually tends to go up over time, which is really cool to see. But in that first week, that's like solid, like expected. If I have a video that gets uploaded and before it's even published, it gets demonetized, usually that first week, it'll get like 25 views, maybe up to 50, but very rarely. Eventually it catches up, but I bet you a big part of it is because it doesn't pop in your sub feed as much. It doesn't get notifications on your devices. It actually kind of buries these videos, even though they're part of a series, from a lot of my viewers, even the ones who are subscribed, who are actively engaged in the channel. And that's really frustrating because, again, it shows how while YouTube will claim that they don't treat videos differently whether they're monetized or not, they absolutely do. Then if they claim monetization from them, that doesn't really help the promotion well, because the algorithm starts seeing this as oh, well, is this person stealing? So like, then it makes it look really bad. Then it makes it so I don't sound as trustworthy, because it makes it sound like I'm trying to claim something that's not mine. I have no problem with somebody like not wanting me to monetize or wanting to take monetization, but like being able to set that stuff up, that's like I communicate with these companies because I want to make sure I'm clear with that. Like I want to make sure I don't cause those problems. And so when they tell me a couple years ago one thing, and then they changed their mind, they should have messaged me. They should have sent me a, hey, we don't want you monetizing these series anymore. I would have been like, yes, sir. And I would have demonetized the whole series and just kept it all up. If they told me, hey, we don't want this content on your channel, take it down, I would have been really, really, really sad. But I would have done it. I probably would have maybe unlisted the videos and maybe kept them as a, like that's kind of my ultimate plan. Like if they don't force me to flat out delete videos, but they don't want them being accessible publicly, my plan is to make them private and post them on Patreon. They wouldn't make any money, and you would have to be a patron to see them. But that way, I'm not breaching that contract per se. And like it's usually, like I've seen other channels that work out such deals, and so obviously I'd be trying to do that. But the big problem is that they never messaged me about it. They just started claiming my videos, and that disrupts like the way YouTube sees me and can affect the way that the channel functions in the future. So anyway, Metro Main, you say understandable, but I think you can approach Cast Job and making it more like a highlight video maybe. So I could do that. A big solution I run into with a lot of series that I can cover on the channel is, if they don't like it covering the whole thing, they usually say like, all right, you can cover up until a certain point and then do a review. And I could do that. As a matter of fact, I've got some series I'm planning on potentially doing that, like Clanad. Clanad is a series I know I'll love, a lot of people love, but they have very strict streaming rights. You can only play up to a certain chapter, which is like, I think only 3 hours into like a 80-hour game. And then after that, it can be a review with maybe a few highlights. But again, like, I have to be careful about plot points, because like if they don't want me showing it on the channel, it's because they're worried about plot, which totally makes sense. With a series like Steins, where it's all narrative, where even though there's multiple endings, there's one true ending. I get why they would want people to only experience that on their own and not be spoiled without paying for the game, because why would they play it on their own and own it when somebody else can just show it to them? I get that. I really, really do. I don't think it's as big of a problem as some of these creators make it, because frankly, I got into visual novels because I watched people play. I ended up watching a few episodes and I'd get so invested, I would buy the game and play it and then go back and watch it again. I think it works really, really well. Clan is probably a really good first visual novel, to be honest. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting distracted. That's okay. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it does the service better, like, for the branding, but that's the thing, that's my opinion. That's like, they have every right to say no. And so I always message these companies before I play another game. I play a game by them, because I want to have a good relationship. I want them to look at my channel and be like, yes, that's a good creator. I can trust him. Because if they can trust me, I think they're going to be a lot more open in the future. So, could I do a highlight video about Chaos Child? Yes. I'm probably not going to, though, for 2 reasons. Number one, Chaos Child, I don't think is a streaming problem. Like Steins, I don't think they'll take down those videos. They may not want me to monetize them, but they let them be up. And you're talking about this. So Michael did Chaos Child and Belga has uploaded a card game. I think about that, so I did the same thing too. Absolutely. I don't even understand, honestly, how people get away with some of this, because there's plenty of channels who put up, like, not even commentary playthroughs. They just post, like, the game. They just play through the whole thing. Heck, Muv has recently been doing this. It's funny because they told me specifically they are quite happy with me posting content about their game, because I change it. I have my picture in the corner. It's very clearly like me, like, talking about it. It's not just the gameplay. I'm transforming it. But on their channel, they've uploaded the entire, like, game. Like, they're uploading the entire series, like, without commentary on their channel. And they also have playthrough on their channel. Like, it's not a foreign concept. It's not that destructive. I think it's a pride thing, ultimately. But here's the thing. Whilst there are many people who are willing to just post whatever they want, and by legal terms in the United States, at least, shoot, what's it called? I know it. It's what protects people who do reviews of content from being forced to take things down. Shoot. It's been, like, I know, I have a blurb about it in the description of all my videos, and like, because it's like a thing, and it was a big topic a while ago, and still pretty big topic, but it's not as big of a problem. It is, I'm looking at my own video right now, because, like, I'm desperate to find this. Oh, I hate it when I do live sometimes. Fair use, that's it, fair use. Fair use really kind of gives us protection from this stuff. Now, granted, it's not executable, so games that are by companies in Japan, they actually have a lot more strength in trying to take down videos they don't want up. So if I posted videos for Clanad, they could absolutely destroy my channel if they wanted to. Most companies won't, even if they're displeased, they'll just claim the videos or request that I take them down. But they might not even go really hardcore on it. But I value a relationship with these companies, because I want them, again, I want them to associate my channel with positive feelings, with positive experiences, and positive feedback. So if they desire that they don't want a video shared, or they want me to meet different caveats, I'm going to respect that. But there's a point where their caveats are so extreme, I'm not willing to do so. So, what is it all coming down to? The reason why I haven't covered Clanad on the channel, because Clanad's, the window of what I can cover is so small, I feel like it would be so antithesis to the way I like exploring these games. I could do a review, for sure, but I don't feel like I do good at review as much as I do Like in the moment, the analysis, the character development, the reaction. Like, I think that that's what I love most about the stuff I make on my channel. I don't make reviews. I make Let's Plays. And if they don't like that, that's okay. My hope is that by cultivating a positive relationship with these companies, many publishers, especially when they do translations, work with multiple titles and multiple like developers. I want these publishers, developers to look at my channel and be pleased with the way I conduct myself. I want them to be happy with the way I handle my channel, with the way that I do things. And it's like I want them to be pleased with it all. So my hope is that by not playing Clannad now, I can cultivate a relationship where they will enjoy my stuff enough that they might give me permission in the future. Anyway, Metromonia, before you go, real quick, hopefully I catch you before you like go. Like, I'm glad you're here. Chaos Child, I'm not worried. I need to hear back from Chunsoft before I'm ready to pull the trigger on that. I need to know if they're going to continually like claim monetization and if they want me to work with stuff later. Like, I just need to know. So I'm talking to them now. I've been emailing back and forth. I'm hoping I'm working out a deal. I'm hoping that we might be able to jump into it sometime soon. But for now, I have to figure that out. So thank you for joining us for tonight. Hopefully that satisfies you. But like, that's kind of what I've been building up to. It's like, if they don't let me play a game, or if they put harsh restrictions on it, I'm going to wait, even though I really want to play Clannad. Because I could play it on my personal time, too. I could just play it on my own. I don't have to showcase it on the channel. I could just play it and never even do a cover of it, you know? But, like, I want to share with you guys, and I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to put the time in, because I'm hoping that as I cultivate a good relationship with my channel, that I can approach them and be like, look, I understand your hesitance, but the way I'm going to handle your game is a way that I hope you can approve of. Will you give me the chance? And maybe, just maybe, I could be an exception to the rule. Because that happens. And as time goes on, and as I think companies are starting to open up to this idea, Muv-Luv was kind of hesitant at first to allow streaming. And they communicated with me. They talked about what they wouldn't be comfortable with. But that was after I'd already started. And then they asked me to help hold the standards that they had, and I have been. And now they message me regularly. Like, I'm kind of like on like they will have table discussions about the localization of Muv-Luv. I get brought up because they talk to me about it sometimes. And Muv-Luv is now more and more mainstream. They become super friendly to people publishing their stuff online, and now they're actually starting an initiative where they want to start encouraging people to make videos about Muv-Luv on YouTube. Like, the industry might start changing, and that gives me hope, and that hope makes me say, you know what, there's so many games I can play. I'm willing to shelve these games I know you want to watch and know I want to play, if it means that in the future we can indulge in them truly, like we have everything else. So, Clannad, it's shelved. I'm hoping someday we can pull it down, blow the dust off, and really immerse ourselves. And it will be a first-time experience for me. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to do that because I'm playing the long game. I want to be doing this years from now. Maybe in a few years, Key will be more open to that. Chaos Child, I really think I'd like to jump into that relatively soon. I'm not doing it now, because I need to hear back from Spike Chunsoft. I need to know what the deal is, and I'm finally starting to make some ground. I got a response back from the English, like the United States office, and they redirected me to a potential solution to talking with Japan. I'm going to send them what I need to talk to them about. They'll try and translate it and explain my position to the headquarters in Japan, and we'll see if we can come to an agreement. They haven't taken down my videos, so I have no problem. I think they'd be okay with me posting them, but I need to know what they want from me. If they just don't want me monetizing, that's fine. I did that with Kodowa Sojo. I am so happy I play Kodowa Sojo, and I do not care that there's no ads on those. Like, that's awesome. I could care less about that. So I just need to hear back from them. So when will I play it? I don't know. I really don't. I can't promise when we're gonna play Chaos Head, Chaos Child, but I can promise it's gonna happen. Because like unless I just like fall off the face of the earth and stop making videos for some weird reason, which I really just don't conceive of, I plan to. Like, it's going to happen, but I'm going to be patient because I have other things I can play in the meantime, and I want to make sure I do it right. Do it like it's worth doing right if it's worth doing at all, even if it means we have to be patient. So please be patient with me for these games. But once I get my answer, once I know what their position is, I'm sure we're going to jump right into it. But I thank you. I'm glad you're supporting me. Thank you for all the well wishes, and I hope that helps satisfy your questions, because that rolls into like the last thing I want to talk about before we end up going. Yeah, who would disappear from YouTube like that? Oh, I'm sorry, man. I literally was talking about me. Look, that's the thing, though. It happens. I really don't want it to happen, but it can happen. It happens to everybody. And the thing is, like, life happens. Like I said, I'm going to be going and getting my physics degree here in the next few years. Like, I could see my channel starting to, like, I'm probably going to have more missed weeks. Like, I'm going to have, like, missed episode days where I might not be as consistent. I'm going to really try hard not to. But, like, sometimes things happen, and, you know, that's okay. What if I end up in a horrific accident where I'm in a, where I end up, like in recovery for a long period of time? Like, I'm obviously not going to make videos then. Like, life happens. I can't know for sure. But, like, my intention is not to stop for several years from now, if I do at all. Frankly, I see people who are, like, making YouTube videos into their 50s and 60s. I'd be cool with that. I don't know if you'd want to watch me in my 50s playing these games, but I'm cool with it. It's gonna be weird, but I'm probably gonna do it if I can, just because I love making content like this. I love it. I love it for what it is. And so, yeah, but yeah, I also love life, and I like being healthy. So, like you're saying, like, work plus school plus YouTube might be too much. Like, yeah, if it's too much, something's got to be cut. And the thing is that school, that's temporary. YouTube, it's flexible. So I might focus on school and put YouTube on the wayside. I hope not, but it could happen. So we'll see. But then, anyway, so we get into the brass tacks here. What is in the future? Well, I really wanted to come tonight with, like, here's what we're going to play next Wednesday. Because next Wednesday, there's a video coming out. And it's going to be one. I thought I would know. Unfortunately, I've run into some problems. The games I kind of pre-selected because I really wanted to go into something that was very scientific, especially with me going to school soon. I'm kind of getting hyped again about physics and astronomy and astrophysics. Like, I'm really getting back into the swing of things there, and so I wanted to do something that had elements of that. There's a few that I picked out. One I was really excited was Planetarium. Like, that one has some amazing reviews. It sounds amazing. But then I looked into it. And remember I said I like listening to these publishers. I want to make sure they're happy. Planetarium, completely banned. They don't want any part of it being uploaded. If people upload it, they're definitely going against the desire and wishes of the publisher. Sky Full of Stars. They only want to show the demo. They don't want to show the whole game. So, I'm running into a bit of a hiccup there. I'm going to have to find a solution next week. I've been sending messages out, but so far I haven't heard anything back. I've got a few fallbacks. There's a game from Pixel Faith that I've kind of had on the back burner for a while. Not quite what I was hoping to play, but it'd be a great series. It would give me time to kind of work out, like, what I want to do, because I either am going to hear from Spike Chunsoft and work out a deal and maybe try and go into Chaos Head, Chaos Child after this next series, or we might start something a little bit different, but a series all the same. There's also other stuff too. Like, I really wish I was in a position where I could do 5 videos a week. It would let me do a lot more filler, because I worry about, like, the one downside to where the channel is right now is I've caught up in, like, sequelitis with Muv-Love and sequelitis with Steins Gate, where I'm not playing first titles and entry titles. I'm playing, like, titles that you kind of need to have played, like, the former stuff before. That's just not as appealing to new people, to newcomers to the channel. I want to try and have a balance of that. So I kind of want to make Wednesdays, at least for a little bit, more focused on something new or first parts, because I'm going to be in Muv-Love for longer than I anticipated. So that's kind of a thing I'm thinking about too. So more one-shots, more like beginnings of series. Like I want to go back to the House of Fata Morgana Requiem, but I just don't think that's the right time right now, and so I'm gonna wait. There's another one that's shelved. Like, I'm definitely gonna do it. It's just I don't know if this is the right time. And then my Fridays I keep one-offs, but I keep them to smaller companies specifically. Like, I like the idea of covering stuff that's newer. I like covering stuff that's not as well known. Some of my favorite games have been discovered. Seabed is probably one of the best visual novels I've ever played, but it's not one that caught a lot of attention, especially when I found it. Like, I love that idea of like almost like having an indie section of the channel. It's never going to be explosive. It's never going to get a ton of audience, but I think it's good to make sure that we highlight new stuff and stuff that's like being recently translated and just maybe not be making headlines because it's important. Anyway, so you're saying YouTube channel is actually about to talking the Steins Gate drama CDs, translating them, animating them, look like games. I've got 2.5 hours worth of videos in Steins Gate visual novel style. If you want to check them out sometime, I absolutely will. I'm going to for sure. Fetch. Ooh, interesting. Now you brought that up, it almost makes me wonder if I should have tried to make like actual video content about it, but I don't know. I think honestly it'd be far better to just direct people to you. So maybe what I can do is a little highlight video at the end of all of this to kind of be like, hey, if you want to see more, check out this channel. He's doing a lot of good work, because frankly your work's great. I think one of my favorite things I found on your channel, for those of you who are watching this in the future or whatever, is don't you have like uploaded of like a drama, Steins Gate drama, like a play, like a version of a play that you did like you did subtitles for? I remember like if it wasn't on your channel, it was I found it because of your channel, but that was fantastic. So like, but like I know you've got a ton of really good Steins Gate stuff, so absolutely people should check that out if you can. So anyway, plugging's done. So I wish I could tell you what I'm doing next week, but I don't currently know. I've got a pretty solid idea. So there's definitely a video coming out next Wednesday, but I'm hoping I'm going to get a Hail Mary email before I have to really like decide, but once I start, I'll start something and that's fine. So I hope you enjoy, but Purple Gamer, thanks for the video yourself. I'm actually wrapping up right now too, so like I'm just gonna get the last little bits and pieces here. Steins Gate is gonna be it's an important part of my future. I'm constantly talking about it. I recently had a friend who had to take some time off work, so he has a lot of free time. I bought him Steins Gate because I was like, here, I think you'll like this. So I truly believe in it as a series. The art, the characterization, the voice acting, it's phenomenal. I'm probably going to be talking about it for the rest of my life, and it deserves it. I've been so happy to do it. I mean, look at me. I'm dressed up like I bought a lab coat because of this nonsense. I'm probably forever changed by this series, and that's great. Like, that's what all good stories are, is like you don't walk away from them the same person. And so I'm very happy to be able to have made this a part of my life, and then I got to share it. That's probably the coolest thing, is like I don't just get to enjoy these stories anymore, I get to share them with people, and I get to hear what you think, and that's really cool. It's really sad to see an end. It feels like an end of an era. I feel like it's gonna be hard to do other games now because Steins Gate has been such a big part of this channel and been such a big feature on my Wednesdays. It's like it almost feels sacrilegious to do something different, and like Muffle will be the same, and I'm sure many other series will be the same. And that's the thing, is like we get to explore new ones now, but there's always going to be a part of my heart that's going to be owned by Steins Gate. There's going to be something that's always going to be there, and like it's going to be hard to top. It's going to be hard to like really take its place in my top 10. Like it really battles it out with Mufflove really hard. Like I think Mufflove has the edge, but only just. Steins Gate's pretty much there too. It's been a pleasure. I still think that if I could, I'd want to meet whoever wrote these and just tell them how much it meant to me to be a part of these stories in my own way, and to like like the way that they've changed things. Like, I still don't know. Like, someone explained that it might not have been Steins Gate that originated like the use of time leap as a phrase, but I keep seeing it in like anime and visual novels. I personally believe Steins Gate kind of changed the world in its own way, and like I don't know if that's ever going to be acknowledged by the majority of the world, but it's really true. So I'm glad I got to be part of it too. Thank you for all of you who are here live. It's been a long video, and I'm grateful that you spent your time here. Thank you to the patrons. I don't really have a patron card to show. I'm hoping to get better at this live stream stuff as I go. But thank you for those of you who are patrons specifically, whether now, in the future, or in the past. As you know, with Steins Gate, time doesn't really matter. It's all about the actions that you take and the world lines that are sparked from them. And the support you give means a lot. And I hope that I get to repay your devotion and your support in as many ways as possible. And Sarkoth, I agree with you. Steins Gate, it's their favorite piece of science fiction. I agree. I think it's probably one of the best sci-fi stories and things as ever. Freezorg, oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, go watch the rest of it. This has been a fun stream. It's been like 2 hours long, but it's been a blast. But it'll be archived, so like you won't have to miss any of it. But I think it really isn't an underselling to say that it is a phenomenon. It is foundation, and I think it's going to be an inspiration for a lot of creators in the future. So I wish I could shake the hands, or give hugs to the people who made this possible. I also want to meet the translators, because I can tell they worked really hard. I had a little bit of sniding remarks about them in Linear Bound Phenogram, and a little bit in My Darling's Embrace, but Linear Bound was definitely the worst of them. But frankly, I'm just impressed that they translated it. I'm just grateful they did. So as much as I might have been like kind of elbowing them a bit, I'm super happy that they were able to take the time and went to the effort. At Scientist, hi, seen the come at the end of the stream. It was early in the morning, couldn't join you then. Thanks for the playthrough. Oh, my goodness, man, thank you so much. Again, I was saying before, like I'm sorry we're catching you at the end, but you know, world and timetables, that's how they work. But it will be archived. You should be able to watch it. I think it takes a bit, but like if you go to either the Linear Bound Phenogram, My Darling's Embrace, or just the Steins Gate like massive playlist, it should be archived there. So absolutely make sure you watch it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. But I go back and I check the comments on these too. They're harder to catch. They're harder to see. That the YouTube doesn't produce them as prominently for me, but I'm always checking them if I can. Yeah, I think there's so much more I can say, except I don't really think, I think I've already said it. I said everything I really can. But just that it's a masterpiece. It really is. It truly is. I think I'm better. I'm a better person because of this game. And I don't think a lot of people would understand that who haven't experienced it. And that's okay. This channel is really nice because one of the reasons I started is because I had no one to talk to about this stuff. And those who I could try to talk to mostly just went over their head. So having you guys to share this with has really been a pleasure. I know it's fairly impersonal because, you know, we're through computer screens and everything, but it's really fun having friends I can kind of do this with. And even though friends is kind of in quotes because it's online, and even if we meet in person, I doubt I'm quite what you expect. I hope we get to meet in person at some point. Like, I want to go to convention this year and other years, but like, don't expect too much. I'm sure I'm very underwhelming. It's a lot easier to do my own thing in front of a camera than it is in person, and I'm also I'm kind of a loner, and very introverted, and so like I'd be happy to say hi in public, but don't expect me to go and hang out with you all day. I'd probably just feel super awkward and probably wouldn't be fun. But it's really been a pleasure to be sharing all this with you guys. yeah, I'm glad that you found this channel, and I hope that it's something that you can stick around with, even if I'm playing stuff that you haven't seen yet. Hopefully we can explore and find new titles together, but most importantly, I hope you always remember the characters of Steins Gate and the lessons that they teach us. Because as personal and impersonal as they can be, it's really powerful. So, grab your nanas, grab your Dr. P, your juicy chicken #1. Another thing I couldn't do as a prop because I don't eat chicken anymore. Makes me feel sick. I'm so bad as a Steins Gate fan, but you know what? Fine anyway. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. I look forward to seeing you in the future projects, and hopefully this isn't the end of your participation in the channel, but if it is, thank you. I won't say bye-bye because, you know, that's eternal farewell. I think the Japanese word, if the proper one, is matane, if that's right. You know, see you again, see you soon, see you later. I hope we all get to see each other again in the future. There's many more great stories for us to explore together and to share. But for now, this is the end of Steins Gate and the end of this series. And as bittersweet as it is, all good things have to come to an end, and this is a great example. So, to all my wonderful people out there, my lab mems from now into the future and the past, Psy Kongroo. Have a great night, great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.